Welcome to the Weekly Square with me, Mduduzi Brian Lunga. This is your show where we keep you up to date by bringing you some of the top headlines from the African continent. And as I've been telling you over the past few weeks, I am just holding the fort for Natasha as we nurture this baby along. We keep you with what's happening in the great African continent so that you don't have to. The date of the recording is Friday, the 12th of May, 2024. Now let's dive in. Now, we'll start off with Nigeria. Over 75,000 nurses, midwives have left Nigeria in the past 5 years. The Association of Nigerian Midwives and Nurses has revealed on Friday that over 75,000 nurses and midwives have left the country. This is a result of many different factors, some including poor wages, indecent work environment, and other factors such as kidnappings and ransoms of healthcare workers. Now, this is a critical situation in Nigeria at the moment because brain drain is a huge issue on the African continent. South Africa, for example, is losing both doctors and accountants. Zimbabwe is losing a lot of healthcare professionals. Kenya is losing a lot of engineers. The issues may seem very different in each country, but they all diverge to one point: insecurity. All these professionals are feeling insecure, be it economically or physically. Now we'll move over now to South Africa. South Africa has summoned US ambassador over the Russia weapons fiasco. A war of words is brewing between the United States and South Africa after the US ambassador to the country said he would bet his life. Yeah, he did say that. His whole life. This is the guy we needed when the weapons of mass destructions were found in Iraq. But anyhow, yeah, he did say he bet his life on US intelligence that South African weapons were loaded onto a Russian vessel when it docked at Cape Town Naval Base in December. Pretoria summoned US Ambassador Ruben Brigetti on Friday amid a diplomatic spat that has put relations between the two friendly nations at their lowest ebb in years. After the meeting, South Africa issued a statement saying that Brigetti admitted that he crossed the line and apologized unreservedly to the government and the people of South Africa. I think there's a lot to the story. There is a lot to it. But what I would like to know is, especially for a lot of people, whether in the diaspora or on the African continent at the moment, what are your thoughts on the war in Ukraine? How does that make you feel? Because I know there's different feelings for people that are in Europe, for example, and the US than there is to the people in Asia and Africa. But as Africans, how do you feel? I think that's the best way of putting it across. Moving on, Nigeria oil production crashes as Angola leads Africa. Oil production figures for Nigeria crashed to an average of 999,000 voluntary production level in barrels per day in the month of April. In the same month, Angola overtook Nigeria with just under 1.1 million barrels per day in oil production. Now the question then becomes, what does that mean for the Nigerian economy over the next decade? Does the economy need to diversify more than it is at the moment? A lot of questions remain unanswered. Equally, what does it mean for Angola? Does it mean that the Angolan economy now needs to be doing better and needs to surpass some of the bigger economies right across the continent? We move along now to Senegal. Thousands of protesters took to the streets of Senegal on Friday against President Sall's refusal to rule out standing for a third term in office. The demonstrations were organized by a group called the Movement of the Living Forces of Senegal F24. This is referring to the scheduled election date of February 24, 2024. Sall has been in Senegalese politics for many decades, serving as a mayor, a prime minister, president of the assembly, and now as the president. Former US President Barack Obama is said to be in talks with Sall to persuade him not to seek a further term. If he does seek a further term, this will be his third term in office. And I'm sure that President Barack Obama could persuade him not to seek that third term in office. Clearly, the citizens of Senegal are not best pleased at the moment. Some South Africans are calling for the United Kingdom to return the world's largest diamond known as the Star of Africa. The diamond, which weighs about 530 carats, was discovered in South Africa in 1905 and it was presented to the British monarchy 2 years later by the colonial government in the country which was under British rule. Do you think that the diamond should be returned to South Africa? I think the wider conversation here should be around the question of laws that were enacted by the colonial governments. Some of them were transferred over. Should those laws have been legally binding after independence? I mean, yeah, something to think about, I suppose. To round us off, in other news, Turkish general elections are this weekend. The Turks go to the polls on Sunday in a combined presidential and parliamentary elections. 3 candidates remain in the presidential race. Could this be the end of President Erdogan's rule? Personally, I doubt, as he has incredible influence within the state arms, especially after the failed coup. Overall, we hope that the Turkish will delight in their choice. We would like to get your thoughts on these and any other headlines we may not have covered. Be sure to keep up with the conversation on social media. Use the hashtag #TheWeeklySquare or hashtag #ChatWithNat. Email chatwithnatshow@gmail.com or follow Chat with Nat Show on Instagram. This has been the Weekly Square, a Chat with Nat production, bringing you headlines from the continent. I have been your host, Nurses Midwives. Look after yourselves and catch you next week. Bye-bye for now.